Let's take a look at other stories making headlines. About 900,000 public servants are staring at tough economic times ahead following a government decision to reduce their allowances. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission has issued new allowances policy guidelines which will harmonize and rationalize allowances for the entire public service to end disparities in this sector. SRC further wants the entire public service to submit to the Commission data on allowances by the end of November for review and advice ahead of official rollout in April next year.
Acknowledging that the current allowances policy guidelines in the public service are structured in a way that promotes distortions, inequalities and disparities, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission says the release of the new allowances policy guidelines seeks to streamline the administration of the entire process so as to ensure transparency, accountability, fairness and equity.
Gross remuneration package shall not distort the relative worth of a job. Thus, allowances shall not be paid for purposes that are already compensated for in the basic salary.
SRC says the standardization and categorization of allowances payable in the public service provides a control framework, removes inconsistencies and enhances standardized payment of allowances across the public service. A study carried out in 2019 on allowances in the public service revealed that a total of 247 allowances, representing 48% of the wage bill in the public service, is paid to civil servants. The Commission therefore hopes to deal with duplication, redundancy, disparities and varied eligibility criteria on allowances payable in the public service.
There shall be streamlining of allowances to progressively achieve a proportion of basic salary to gross salary that is no less than 60%, while taking into account the impact on pension.
The new measures by the SRC are part of requirements by the International Monetary Fund as part of the condition to grant the government about 234 billion shillings. In the agreement signed in April, the government undertook to reduce debt vulnerabilities through several approaches aimed at raising tax revenues and controlling spending within government. The entire public service workforce is 884,000. In the 2019-2020 financial year, the total wage bill was 51.7% of ordinary revenue raised. The wage bill to gross domestic product ratio reached 8.3% in the 2019-2020 financial year, which is above the set target of 7.5%. Even though the SRC does not specify how much the government intends to save, the move will definitely unsettle the civil service pay and allowances structure. In some cases, for example, allowances have been paid as percentages on basic salaries, others have been paid as percentages on gross salaries, while others have been in absolute amounts, which results in additional distortions in remunerations. And this will see some allowances scrapped or merged.
We want to convert from a percentage of basic pay to an actual figure. That's what we call absolute. That is the actual figure that should be paid for that allowance. For example, if your salary is 50,000 and house allowance is 10% of that, that's 5,000. So it means when you go to 60,000, 10% will be 6,000. We are saying no, your basic pay does not have to move or use the same fundamentals as the movement in the allowances that you're getting paid.
SRC shall issue an advisory on conversion of the allowances that are currently paid as a percentage of basic salary into absolute amounts while ensuring consistency across the public service.
Public service institutions are required to classify all allowances into 5 categories comprising of house allowance, commuter allowance, job-related allowances, task-related allowances, and labor market adjustment allowances. They will then be required to submit the list to the SRC for review and advice in keeping with purpose, eligibility, criteria, rate and scope. Shadrach Miti, KT News.
Really keen on seeing how that will pan out. Already a lot of reactions from that move by